So I've seen all of you. I think it was a year and a half ago or so, and I don't know what you heard or didn't hear this week. Is this how many classes? Is there how many classes a week, Rabbi Smith?
Well, we have 6 morning classes and 5 afternoon classes, so 11. Well, no, and then a women's class, 12. We have 12 classes.
Okay, so I don't know. Again, speaking after so many rabbis this week, I'm not sure. You know, they probably told you all about the parsha already, and et cetera, et cetera. So if there's something that I'm repeating that you already heard from 6 rabbis or 10 rabbis before me, please let me know, and I'll move on to something else. So, but either way, I'll start off with things that I'm sure no other rabbis spoke about, some Key West type Torah or stories that no one else probably told you. So we're in the month of Adar, and the month of Adar heard this week is, it says Mishanichnas Adar. When Adar comes in, we add happiness. We're supposed to be very happy this month. Not that we're supposed to be sad on other months, but we're supposed to be happy all year, besides the month of Av by Tisha B'Av, but we're supposed to be a little bit sad then. But this month we have to be extra happy. Why? I'm sure you heard this week, because there's 2 things that happened this month. First of all, we have Purim, right, in a week and a half. Monday night, Tuesday, and I'm still waiting on my Hamantashen to show up here at my door, and my Shalach Man is to give out. I hope it shows up on time. And we have, what else do we have? Who knows? What else happened this month? I'll give a hint. Who was born and passed away this month? If they're allowed to speak. If not, don't worry. Okay. So it was Moses, right? Moshe Rabbeinu was born, and he passed away on the 7th of Adar, which is coming up in a few days. So it's two kind of good events that happened to the Jewish people. The fact that we got Moses, right? Moshe Rabbeinu, who took us out of Egypt, he gave us the Torah, etc., etc. Just gonna drink a little of my coconut water.
Yeah, there's also Rosh Chodesh this month.
Right, Rosh Chodesh was Tuesday, right? Tuesday, Wednesday, right? Yesterday. So anyway, so it's known. The Jewish law says that if you have a court case with a non-Jew, with a Gentile, Jews have more luck in the month of Adar. So it's good to push it off to the month of Adar. Rabbi Smith, you remind me if I said the story last time. I don't know what stories I said, but it could be from a year and a half ago. People forgot it anyways. But either way, if I said it, I'll move on to another one. I don't think I said this specific one that I'm saying. So in Key West, when I came, we had a storefront off Duval Street in 1995. I'm sure many of you have been to Key West, and you know Duval Street. Not as holy as the Western Wall, but we try to bring holiness to Key West and to that area. And then we moved kind of where the more residential area is, and now we have a nice shul here in Newtown, which we bought from the Trinity Lutheran Church in 2008. And that's our permanent shul. Baruch Hashem, we bought it and we enjoy it, and we have a very active shul, Baruch Hashem. Thank God.
Rabbi, what's the exact address of your place in Key West?
906 Trinity Drive, Key West, Florida, 33040. So if you ever come down, you're definitely invited to stop by and have a coffee with me. If you come to
Are you going to change the name Trinity?
That's a good question.
That's pretty funny, you know.
Like I said, I bought it from the Trinity Lutheran Church, so they had the name before. You know, Trinity
but now that you are added, you should say quadruplet or something.
You know, Trinity is really a Jewish idea. There's Avram, Yitzchok, and Yankov, right? There's Torah, God, and the Jewish people.
Right.
They stole, like many other things, the Messiah. They stole a lot of our stuff and kind of right, and put it on their chevra. But really, it's Trinity. But by the way, I did try to change it from Trinity to Torah Drive or Chabad Drive. The vice mayor, who's Jewish, Sam Kaufman, who was just by my class, my lunch and learn at 12 o'clock. So he also lives on the block, and he also wants it to change. But it's not so easy to change it. Well, one day we'll change it, like to Torah Drive or Chabad Drive. I don't know. We'll figure it out. For now, it is what it is. So getting back to that, we bought it in 2008, and we bought it from the church. They did not get the certificate of occupancy yet. They didn't get their final permit to get in because they didn't finish. They built the structure, but they didn't put in the plumbing, electric, right, or the utilities, or air conditioning, or tiles. They had to finish it up. So we bought it.
You had problems with the sewage.
So that you remember? Okay, very good.
Yeah.
Who am I speaking to? What's your name? One second. Who am I speaking? Oh. Ben, good memory. So that was okay. Good memory. So that was on my house, which was downtown. I built a mikveh behind the house. Very good. Hold on. Let me send this to voicemail. Someone's calling me. Hold on. Okay. Yeah. So very good. That was in my house downtown, which I sold since then, and I moved next to the shul, and I built a new mikveh back at this shul. So that was my old mikveh that I had there for 17 years, and that was a good story. Glad you remember. So this is the new shul. That story happened with the mikveh happened in 2005 and 6. This story is happening between 2008 and 2011 when I bought this new shul. So we come in, and now we have to use it. I had a trailer on another piece of property, and we were trying to use this building already since we bought it, but now we have to put in all the utilities. So I went to the city and I said, could I get a temporary CO, a temporary certificate of occupancy, so we could use it for Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur? Because I kind of stayed in the trailer till then, but then I need a bigger spot, and I didn't want to go rent a hotel. Now that I have this bigger shul, yeah, there was no electricity, so I've got a temporary, pole there, and we had fans, no AC, but I figured let's start using the shul already, and we'll get people actually to donate towards these things. Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, they feel it's hot. I'll tell them, listen, we need AC. Whoever wants to donate air conditioning, we'll do it. And thank God we got everything installed after that. But it took from 2008 till 2011 to get everything in with the tiles and everything the way it should be. You remember 2008, there was a crash, right, in the economy. But right after I bought it, Baruch Hashem, I bought it right before the crash, so I got an okay price on it. But I bought it for guess what number I bought it for. Today it's worth a few $1 million, but thank God I bought it then for a good $770,000, right? So the Rebbe and Hashem were definitely with me when I bought it. And the reason that they were selling it, because we had a hurricane in 2005, Wilma, the big one, that everything was on the water. The property that they built then didn't get hurt, but a lot of the houses were flooded. They had like 200 members. Their houses were flooded, and they didn't have insurance, because if they didn't have mortgage, a lot of people don't take insurance, which is foolish. He says, "I'll have some insurance on your house, even if the mortgage company doesn't force you to pay insurance." And they lost their homes. They were all flooded, so they sold their homes for cheap and moved like to the villages near Ocala, most of them. So they were left with like 15 members, and they couldn't hold up a church like this. So hold on. My daughter from Israel, from Jerusalem, was calling me, so I had to decline her. She's in seminary there, one of my daughters. So where were we holding? Oh, so they had to. They didn't need a church for 15 people because their people moved out of town. So actually, the hurricane kind of helped me after the fact. It wasn't easy while it was here, but I kind of had some benefits afterward. So we bought this, and we're temporary CO. But, you know, it's dangerous to give a rabbi a temporary CO for 180 days, thinking that he's going to move out after 180 days. Once the rabbi moves in with his people, he ain't moving out. And of course, the temporary CO became permanent. But the city started saying, no, when are you finishing up? I said, as soon as I get money, I'll finish up what I need to do. Slowly, and since the economy fell, it was a little harder to fundraise then. So, you know, people were kvetching, etc., which I understood. And it was a tougher time for people. So it took more time I thought I'd finish it 6 months or to a year, I'd finish up everything, you know, put in all the utilities, which are not cheap in a big building, and 4 commercial ACs, etc., you know. And it took a little longer. So slowly we got it done. But at a certain point, they said, I need more parking. So I said, why do I need more parking? The church built this, and whatever parking they built, it was approved by the planning board. So they told me, I know, but the church sold off the priest's house. Before I bought the property, next door, there was the pastor's house. And they sold it off. They separated that property and sold it off to somebody before I got into the picture. And then they sold me the church without the house. Now, the house also had another, I guess, 5-6 spaces in front of it, or 10 spaces. So they approved the church together with the extra 10 spaces that the house, the priest's house, had also. But since that house was sold off to somebody else, I lost 5 to 10 spaces that originally had to be part of the synagogue. So I said, listen, the bottom line is, you know, the church needed out. They couldn't finish the building. We helped them. We got the building. They didn't need it anymore. This is the parking I have. What do you want me to do? I didn't go into some little residential neighborhood and take over a house and mess up the neighborhood. This was already built by the church as a place of worship. So what do you want from me? So I said, well, you got to take off your whole yard. There's a yard there for the kids to play, and make it all parking. I said, I'm not doing that. The kids need a place to play more than a few extra parking spaces. So I'm not going to do.
People across the street from the show.
Good question. I see you have neighbors. So the people across the street from Shul, I had one neighbor that was causing some trouble, but listen, the church was actually built before those homes were built. So they didn't really have much say in it. The church owned the whole area, and after they built the church, they ran out of money to finish it. So they built the homes and sold that. They still didn't have enough money, and they sold it to us, the building. So really the homes came after the church, right? What was the chicken before the egg? So it's not like the church even came into a residential neighborhood. This was, the Lutheran church owned the whole area, or this whole block. And so the church kind of came first before these homes. So I was like, what do you want from me? It is what it is. You know what I mean? The church, they built it. Here's the parking, and that's it. Anyways, they told me, but I said, listen, if you want, we could have a compromise. The doctor on the corner, which is 2 doors down, of course, the Jewish doctor, Dr. Boris and Dr. Steinfeld, nice Yiddish doctors, heart doctors. They come to my shul. Dr. Steinfeld still comes to shul. Dr. Boris moved away a little bit. It's actually part of the Mount Sinai thing. And I said, I went to the doctors. They owned the building. I said, Dr. Boris owned it. I said, would you, on the weekends, you don't use the building anyways. And they have like 30 spots. I said, would you lease me or give me the parking on the weekends? They said, sure, Rabbi. I went to the city. They said, no, you need to have it with the county an official easement. No, Zozain, whatever you want. Clap the cup and van, whatever you want. I went, I got the easement done. I recorded in the county, thinking that everything now is kosher v'yosher. I can schlafen ruhig. I can go to sleep peacefully, right? Anechte ketog, right? Your parents used to say that sometimes. So,
Yeah.
So anyways, I come back to the city. There's always one Haman in the city. You know, leave it up, right? And the vice mayor who comes to my shul now was not yet the vice mayor yet. Now, They don't mess with me. They don't mess with the rabbi today if they know what's better for them. But back then I didn't have that much connection. So there was one Haman, Mr. Finnegan, and he said, Rabbi, no, the easement can't work. So I said, what do you mean? I have a letter from you guys saying if I do it, it's okay. And I did the easement. So was Chainik now? What are you telling me I can't do it? So I said, and I'm a nice guy. Listen, I'll work with the city to a certain point. I'm not here to fight with them. But Adkan, there's a limit to how much mishigas you're gonna put me through. You told me I could do it. I did it. The church did, build the building anyways. And now you're telling me I can't do it. No, Adkan. Now I'm done. I'm done with you guys. So they told me, and he's explained to me, because the doctor expanded his doctor's office, so there's not enough parking. I said, what's the difference? I'm using it on the weekend when the doctor's not using this place anyway, so it doesn't matter what he did. Anyways, this guy decided to be Haman, and no, you have to put more parking. You have to make a new site plan with more parking. It's more money in this. I said, I'm not doing it. That's it. Adkan, I felt it already. At this point, I'm right at this point. Don't drive me mishuk.
You did enough compromise. You did enough stuff for them that they wanted, and that's yeah.
That's it. So meanwhile, I'm getting these tickets and letters, threatening letters from the city. I'm over my CO, and they don't want to give me the certificate of occupancy right now until I do a new parking. And this guy was the assistant city manager as a governor, this Haman. So at a certain point, I finally get a final court date, besides all my tickets that I'm getting, that I'm disobeying the city. Final court date to come to the city court. But when's the court date? In the month of Shvat, last month, not in the month of Adar, where Purim is. And I remember that if you have a court case with Goyim, it's better to do it in Adar. So I said, I went to the courthouse. I said, I had a stomach ache, whatever it is. You could push off the court date with no reason one time. I said, I can't make it to this day. Could we push it off to next month? Yeah, perfect. Chodesh Adar, excellent. So comes the court date, the city court. George Overby, since then he's retired. Nice Irish guy. So
you against Finnegan?
Well, Finnegan is not a nice Irish guy. Overby, the
Right,
judge.
I'm saying. It's you against Finnegan in front of him. Right.
Correct. So my chances are not that good, right? So I asked the lawyer, Sam Kaufman, who was now the vice mayor, but then he was just my lawyer. He said, Sam, what am I going to do over here? So I said, you want to represent me? Should I go myself? He says, no, we know George Overby. And there was another lawyer, Diane, the wife of the president of the conservative shul, Fred Coven. So Diane Coven, she passed away, should have a blessed memory. Nice lady. So she says, Rabbi, we know George Overby. He doesn't like when you come lawyered up. Come as the poor victim of Uncle Sam, Nebuch, you're just trying to live your life, and the city is driving you meshugah. That's all. And we'll be sitting in the background to back you up if you need the backup help. I said, good, whatever. That's a good strategy. Zolzain. I said a perek Tehillim before. I wrote a letter to the Rebbe, of course, to the oil, and I said, the Eibishter wird helfen. I go to court, and it's actually recorded. I could even find you guys the date, and all the city courts are recorded. I come there, and the judge calls me up to one side, to the defendant's side, and he calls up Mr. Finnegan to the prosecuting side. And he said, who wants to talk first? From my little experience in life, let the other guy talk first. Why should I defend myself before I hear what the accusation was? I mean, I knew what it was, but let him. So he says, well, we gave the rabbi 5 years or 3 years, right? 4 years, whatever it was there. To finish his building, and he didn't finish it, and we're waiting a long time, and he's not doing it, and that's it. It's either he evicts the building or he does what we asked him to do. So So the judge asks, and by the way, everything we did was with permits and plan. We did everything kosher. You know what I mean? No Mickey Mouse shtick. So I had everything, all the documents, the electric, the phone, whatever we put in was with permits, license, alamises. So we went to. So the judge asked Mr. Finnegan, so what exactly does the rabbi have to do? Told me he didn't do. What? So he says, oh, the planning department has the list of what he still has to do. So he says, now the planning guy, his name was Don Craig. He was the planning department for the few years in Key West. He's not anymore. He moved to Colorado or something. So he says, Don, where are you? So no, Don is out of town. He went skiing in Colorado, and that he actually moved there after that. Now he lives there. What? Don is not here? Okay, where is his assistant here, Brendan? Yeah, Brendan is filling in for him. Okay, Brendan, come up. So the judge asked Brendan, as the assistant planner, Mark Finnegan, the assistant city manager, says the rabbi didn't do what he had to do. Did the rabbi do everything? Does he have to do anything else? The rabbi did everything. He finished everything. I don't know what Mark said. He did everything. I don't know anything the rabbi has to do anymore. What? He calls over Mr. Finnegan. You heard what Brendan said. The rabbi finished everything. Was Hakstat Shainik. He didn't say it in Yiddish, but what are you saying? No, but he doesn't know that. What doesn't know? He's the assistant planner. He said the rabbi finished everything. Okay. The judge told him, be quiet. You heard the man. You better give him the certificate of occupancy. Within 30 days, I want to see you gave it to him. And waive the fee. There's like a $600 fee. And I don't want to hear anything else. Next. That was the end of that Haman. And I got my CO, my certificate of occupancy. So these things that say in Shulchan Aruch, and these stories are not only from 300 years ago. They work today also. Hashem is here even in Key West. And I've seen it in front of my eyes. I didn't want to smile too much there, but I went out and I definitely laughed my way home. So they wanted to hang the rabbi, and he ended up hanging himself. But anyways, and now we have a nice shul, and we're using it without any trouble. This week, we get a lot of Shabbaton. So this week, the big yeshiva, Landau Yeshiva, Rabbi Korf's Yeshiva in South Beach, that has like 30 yeshiva boys, they're coming down for Shabbos to me. So they're bringing mattresses, and we're going to have a big fabring in this Shabbos. And then it's their big trip. They come to Key West, and then I take.
Wonderful. That is so beautiful. What a beautiful thing you have down there.
Thank you. And then we take them fishing on Sunday if they behave themselves. So that's the Purim story. Let me just have another drink here of l'chaim on my coconut water.
Evie.
So this week's parsha speaks about Truma. I'm sure you heard about it already this week. It speaks about building of the tabernacle, right? Let me just make sure my phone has enough juice. It's on 16%. If it goes down past 10, I'm gonna move to my kitchen and plug it in. I'm sitting on my porch here. So the tabernacle, as we know, was for 40 years. It was in the desert, and then it was a few hundred years in Israel. It was a portable temple. And then later, King Solomon built it in Jerusalem about 3,000 years ago. About 2,000 years ago, he built the first temple. That was stood there for 410 years. And then 70 years was in between when the story of Purim happened. That was about 2,500 years ago. And then 70 years after the first temple was destroyed, the second temple was rebuilt by Daryavish, Koresh, and it lasted 420 years, and it was destroyed around 1950 years ago, right? Almost 2,000 years by the Romans. The first one was destroyed by Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylonia. And the story of Hanukkah is at the end of the second temple, right? We have Purim that happened between the two temples. with Esther and Achashverosh, and then we have Hanukkah happened a few hundred years after that, towards the end of the second temple. But interesting is that we don't today go on Har HaBayis, right? The temple was on the Temple Mount, right above the Koisel over there, the Western Wall, the Wailing Wall, whatever you call it. We don't go up there today. Why? Because we're not pure. Since we've been in a room with a dead body, either if you've been by a funeral or you touch somebody that touched the dead body, so we're impure, and we're only going to be pure enough to go up there after they slaughter the red heifer, which, like the rabbi said, I'm a sheikhet, so I'm getting my knife sharpened already for that. I'm not a kohen, but it says that when Mashiach comes, the b'chor, the firstborn, will be like Kahanim. So hopefully I'll be able to do that job too. I could slaughter and sprinkle the ashes. So anyways, so until they slaughter that red heifer and they mix the ashes with water and they sprinkle it on us, which is a whole nother class why that helps, but the Torah says that. And so then we become pure, and then we could go on Temple Mount, because the Temple Mount, unlike where the Mishkan was, where the tabernacle, right, the portable temple, and unlike Mount Sinai, for example, Mount Sinai was only holy when God gave the Torah there. It says, the minute the shofar stopped blowing by Har Sinai, by Mount Sinai, right, God said you could come on the mountain. It wasn't holy anymore. And the Mishkan, when they traveled in the desert, when the Mishkan was in one place, it was holy that place. But when it moved away, that place didn't remain holy. You could then go and put your tent over there. As opposed to all that Temple Mount, the Har HaBayis remains holy even after the temple was destroyed, and we're hoping, God willing, soon the third Beis HaMikdash, the third temple, will be rebuilt. As we know, most of the prophecies that says in Isaiah and Ezekiel, etc., all came true, that we came back to Israel, there was wars on Jerusalem, like it says, and wars of Gog and Magog. We're kind of at the end of that whole thing already, of Gog and Magog. So all we need is Mashiach to come and build the Beis HaMikdash. All the other prophecies came true, right?
How are we gonna recognize Mashiach? How are we gonna recognize this?
So I'll tell you, if Mashiach is going to have to convince you he's Mashiach, then he's not Mashiach. If me or Rabbi Smith are going to have to convince you that this is Mashiach, then he's not the real Mashiach. Because when he's going to be the real Mashiach, you'll know that it's him. You won't have to ask me. Why? Because it says that he's going to stop all the wars, which the last one, the Rebbe also mentioned, is going to be with Persia, which, by the way, is modern-day Iran. And the writing's on the wall with that. We know what's going to be with them in Israel very soon, or it's an ongoing thing, but there's going to be the final thing with them soon. And also, he's going to build the temple, and he's going to bring all the Jews to Israel. Those are actually the three things he has to do. So when he does all those three things, actually, even when he does one of them, you'll know it's probably true Mashiach already. But when he accomplishes those three things, you're not going to ask me, is this Mashiach? That you'll know already. So when Mashiach comes, believe me, you'll know who it is.
Rabbi.
Yeah.
It's going to be
When they
Yehudi,
come
right?
riding on a white donkey.
If he comes on a donkey, or he comes with a cloud, or if he comes in a Tesla, I don't know. Although it does say that if we're,
Of course he's going to be.
although it does say that it says if we don't have schus, if we don't merit, he's going to come on a donkey, and if we merit, then he's going to come with the clouds. Either way, he's going to be standing on the Koisel, on the Temple Mount, and he'll say that Mashiach, that I came, and he's going to do these things which I mentioned: build the Beis HaMikdash, bring the people to Eretz Yisrael, finish the final, as we say it in simple English, he'll get rid of the last bad guys, and we'll live happily ever after. Mitzvah Hashem. That's the plan.
Yes, Rabbi.
Yes.
Yes, it's going to be Yehudi. Is that correct?
What?
It's going to be Yehudi.
It's definitely going to be a
You better
Yehudi.
be.
It's going to be a Jew who's a great grandson of King David, and not anybody that the Goyim believe in. That I can guarantee you. No good things happened after he came and left. That's why they have to convince you that their Messiah is the Messiah. That's how you know right away that he can't be the Messiah. If you have to convince you that someone's the Messiah, then he's not the Messiah. That I can tell you. When Mashiach will come, we'll know specifically, as it says in the scriptures, that they also believe him, but they don't want to read. They only want to pick and choose a few that they want. They don't want to read the whole story. There's going to be real peace. There's going to be the third Beis Hamikdash, the third temple, and all the Jews will go to Israel. So those things clearly did not happen yet. And when they happen, we'll know that they happen. I won't have to convince you that they happen. You'll see it with your own eyes. And it's going to be on Fox. Even CNN will put it on. They might take a few days because, and even the New York Times might take 3 months. And even they, at the end, won't have a choice. And they'll have to admit to it without getting too political, right? But anyways, getting back to our story, I used to put tefillin on the soldiers down by the Koisel every Friday in the 1980s. I was learning in the yeshiva there in Teres Emes, in Lubavitch yeshiva. So accidentally, now I used to go up after we finished by the wall, putting tefillin on the people that came to the Western Wall. I was 14, 15 years old, 16. I used to go up to the army base, which is on top of the Koisel. If on the side of the Koisel where the men's section is, there's a tunnel that goes under. Now, above that tunnel, there's a building with windows. And it goes all the way up. And there's even a roof that there's snipers, Israeli snipers up there, ready to shoot anybody that's going to cause trouble. And thank God they're there. And unfortunately, they had to use their abilities here and there. So I used to go up to those soldiers, which is around in the Arab Shuk. It's right next to the Temple Mount. It's through the and to put tefillin on the soldiers. And not all of them are Jews. There's also Druze. I don't know, in Israel, there's something called Druzim, which is a type of they're not Arabs, but a type of, they believe in Yisrael. I think they have another religion, but they're also friendly with the Jews. And a lot of the soldiers, at least over there, were Druzim. And
They follow Yisrael. They have a temple.
Right.
I forget exactly where, but I went up there and they have the footprint
right.
in Yisrael in the stone.
Right. So so they exactly. And there's some in the Lebanon, there's some in Syria, like you said, correct. But my other daughter from New York just called me, so they'll call me. I'll speak to them later. All right. So, right. So they're nice people. Anyways, at least they're nice to the Jews. So I used to go up there and I asked them, "Are you Jewish or are you Druzish?" And then of course we put tefillin on the Yidden. Now on the second floor of this army base, the floor is the koisel. That means it's half of it is on the koisel height, and then the third floor or the second floor, or the second floor when you go in there, is the floor. Part of the floor is actually the Western Wall, because the Western Wall continues beyond what you see all the way down. So you're actually part of in the room, the upstairs room. The wall, the koisel is part of the floor, and if you walk over that part of the wall, you're on Temple Mount, you're on Har Bayis, and you're actually coming very close to where the temple was. And if you look out the window, you see that gold dome right in front of you. So the army base kind of stretches into the Temple Mount. Now I didn't know that. So me and my friend Mendy Zaklakovsky, friend of mine, we were doing with Saim, putting tefillin. We went over there and we saw some soldiers there, not knowing that Har Bayis, the Temple Mount, is on the other side of this floor, because you don't see, there's no sign in the army base. And we went over there and we said, "Are you Jewish?" He said, No. Take off your shoes. I said, "Why should we take off our shoes?" He said, "Because you're on Har Bayis, you're on Temple Mount." I said, "What?" So we ran to the other side, and then he shows us, you see the koisel, you see the wall here on the bottom. You could see where the koisel ran through on the floor. So you said, "This is the koisel, so you can't pass it." So, it was an accident, obviously. We didn't know on purpose. So I wrote the Rebbe a letter that we accidentally went on Har Bayis. So he told me I have to fast for 30 days. No, he didn't tell me that. He said I should check my tefillin, and it was before my birthday. I was either turning 15 or 16 at the time. He said, it was before my birthday. So he said, do your birthday minhagim, which we take new resolutions on ourselves. For our birthday, we say the whole Tillim, etc. and we start our new parak of Tehillim, right? Every year you're supposed to say your psalm in the Tehillim. So you say the one afterwards. So if now I'm 50, so I say the 51st psalm. But if any of you don't do it yet, it's a good thing to do every day. Whatever age you are, you say the next psalm every day, and it brings you good blessings. So he wrote that, and he said, Oscar Alatzin, I'll mention you by the grave of my father-in-law, where now the Rebbe himself is buried there next to his father-in-law in the oil in Queens, Montefiore Cemetery. The Rebbe always used to say, I'll bless you over there. I checked my tefillin. I have 2 tefillin, right? Rashi and Rabbeinu Tam. My Rashi was fine. My Rabbeinu Tam had some issues with it, and we got it fixed. So that's just a story with the temple. But one thing that I wanted to say that we learn from this, and let me just plug my phone in, because I'm beyond the 10%. I'm below 10%, and it's going to go off soon. 1 second. Let me just plug it in here. Oh, it's working. Okay, good. Getting back to our story here, we know that the temple was 1 second. Okay, we know that the temple was made out of atzei shitim, which is like a cedar wood. The Mishkan. Right? I'm sorry. The Mishkan. Yeah, correct. So shitim is from the word shtus, is from the word a foolishness or a foolish idea that comes to your head. And it's a play on the words in Hebrew. And we have to elevate the shtus, the foolishness that comes to our minds, that comes from our animal soul, and elevate it to holiness. And what does the shtus do? The shtus is the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination, the animal soul, covering over your Jewish soul. It's blinding you from the truth. And what it usually does is it first of all, it makes you think short term. You'd rather have a short-term enjoyment, not thinking of what the consequence is going to be. And you're basically not thinking straight. You're if you would really think into doing this shtus, you wouldn't do it, because you would think of the consequences, either between you and man or between you and God or both. Let's say you're going to the casino or you're going to smoke drugs, or not any of you, obviously, but in Key West, we have these issues. Or you're going to the bar, and let's say you're married. Even if you're not married, you shouldn't be hanging out there, but you're going to Rick's or Sloppy Joe's at midnight, which you shouldn't be there, etc. So then temporarily, the shtus makes you think for the moment and not for the future. That's number one. Number two, it also covers up on your neshama and your Jewish soul from talking to you and telling you to do the right thing. So now, to get rid of that shtus, it's good to have holy shtus, to do things for holiness, also that you don't think so much into it. When it comes to doing non-holy things, everybody, I'll go, let's go party, let's go this. You're not worried. What if you're going to get in trouble? What if you drink too much? What if this? Right? When it comes to going to shul or to do Jewish things, all of a sudden you're become so oiskecheshman, you're so strict with the rules. I might bump into Harry and I didn't speak to him for 30 years. Then you find out that Harry hasn't been in shul also for 30 years, so you're not going to bump into him anyways. And even if Harry comes to shul and you bump into him, so what? Sit on the other side of the shul. But we become, God forbid, the rabbi looked at me funny a little bit. The other day he didn't smile at me. I'm not going to. How come in the bar, you're still going back to the bar, even though the bartender didn't smile at you? To the bar, you're still going back. But you became so frum that you're going to go keep older. When it comes to shul, you're going to be so strict that any little thing, you're not going. So I'm just saying we should at least equalize what we do for our animal soul. We should at least do for our Yiddish soul. We should do more for our Yiddish soul than our animal soul. but at least make it even. But also, shtus kedusha is that just like you didn't think when you went to the bar and did foolish things, or to the casino, or did other things that we shouldn't do, you should do the same for Hashem. Do things without thinking about the rabbi needs you for a minyan. Just go. Don't think about it. Just like when you went to the bar, your friends said, let's go here, let's go there, let's go to a non-kosher restaurant. You didn't think twice about it. You just went because your friends schlepped you there. So the rabbi needs a minyan. The rabbi needs you to come to a class. Just do it. Don't make so many cheshbonis. Don't make so much calculations about it. That's shtus. So when we do
excuses, don't make excuses.
Excuses, very good, 100%. Trutzim. Don't make excuses. Just go and do what Hashem wants, and that will help you get rid of the shtus that you do for the animal soul. Do some shtus for Hashem. Do things for Hashem without thinking it through so much. Just do it, and believe me, if you do for Hashem, Hashem will do for you a lot more, and we all know that. And I'll give you a story, just a story of the previous Rebbe. Chabad rabbis, we live mostly on this. We just do it. We don't have 28 board meetings, how to do it, and how much budget we're going to have. We do it. It has to get done. We do it. And then we figure out how, what, when. We're organized. We still try to get things together. But just because all the money didn't come in yet, or just because we didn't have 6 board meetings about it, we're still going to do what we have to do. You got to do what you have to do. And then sometimes you have to make cheshbonos later on. You make the calculations later. But there has to be Purim, there has to be Pesach, there has to be, a Yid needs help, you have to help him. And you figure, sometimes you have to figure out later how to pay it back or whatever it is. So the Frierdiker Rebbe, the previous Chabad Rebbe, who passed away in 1950, my father merited to see him as a little boy. And my grandparents, when they ran away from the Holocaust, they came to the United States in 1949, I believe they got their visa. And so they came, they met the previous Rebbe. Actually, the previous Rebbe told my grandfather, whose yahrzeit was yesterday, Mordechai Zucker, Mordechai ben Tzvi Zucker, the Holocaust survivor, his whole family was wiped out. He lived in a town called Shebashin near Lublin. He ran away to Russia and Uzbek. He ended up in Samarkand. But he wasn't a Lubavitcher. He learned in Mir. My grandmother was a Lubavitcher. He met her in Samarkand, in Uzbekistan, and they ran. And after the war, they came to the DP camps, right? The displaced person camps. And my father was born in a DP camp in France. And then in 1949, when my father was like one or 2 years old, they came to America. And a nice Jewish story that I'm sure many of you have in your background. So the Frierdiker Rebbe told my grandfather,
Pretty close to mine.
right? Who? Yeah. What's your name? Who am I speaking to? Okay. Very good.
Ben
So-
again.
Okay.
Ben
Oh,
Zion.
excellent. Ben Zion, excellent. So,
My
shkoyach. So,
parents went to Uzbekistan too. That's why.
oh, very good. You were born in Uzbekistan. Very good. So the Frierdiker Rebbe told my father, told my grandfather to open a yeshiva in Miami. He says, you're a guy, and he learned in Mir, and he knew the whole Gemara by heart. He was the whole Talmud by heart. So he said, he wasn't a Lubavitcher. He said, that's a nice idea, but I'm staying in New York. So he had a shtibel in East Flatbush for 50 years, and he gave his daf yomi, he gave a Talmud class there every morning until the 1990s when he passed away, a blessed memory. But he went through the Holocaust, and he, unlike others that I don't judge at all, but he ran away to Russia, but still he lost everybody. He did keep Torah mitzvahs after the war. Some people took it different. Some people left Yiddishkeit. He did not. Thank God that he didn't leave Yiddishkeit, because otherwise I wouldn't be wearing a yarmulke, and I'd probably have married a shiksa by now and living in Kentucky or something. Unfortunately, as many Jewish families happen over the years, if they don't teach true Yiddishkeit to the kids and grandkids. It's just the facts. So Baruch Hashem that he kept Yiddishkeit and he sent his kids to yeshiva, and my father sent me to yeshiva. So I'm still holding up the faith, as we say. So the Frierdiker Rebbe, before he came to America. So anyways, I always tell people, I say, since my grandfather didn't listen to the previous Rebbe to come to Florida to make yeshiva and to strengthen Yiddishkeit, I'm picking up for him. But Miami, there was already stuff going on, so I came to Key West. But somebody in the family had to go to South Florida to strengthen Yiddishkeit. So I'm picking up where my grandfather didn't do. I mean, he did a lot of great things besides that, but he didn't come to Florida like the previous Rebbe asked him to do. So the previous Rebbe, I think it was 1918. Before he was Rebbe, his father was the Rebbe Rashab, who passed away in 1920. So the Rebbe Rashab, who my great-grandmother used to make wine for him. She's buried in New York, actually, next to the Rebbe here. She passed away in 1972. But back in the day, in the early 1900s, she used to make wine for him. And my great-grandfather was also buried, passed away in 1986, buried also in the oil in Montefiore. He used to be one of his students in the yeshiva back in Russia. So the Rebbe Rashab told his son, the previous Rebbe, who was not yet the Rebbe yet, I want you to go to Petersburg, which was then the Russian government was, and I need you to cancel a decree against Jewish education. I need you to go to the Minister of Education and cancel it. Did you hear the story this week? If you did, tell me. But if not, I'll continue the story. So he told us, how am I going to do? What should I do? He says, I don't know. Just go. Hashem will help you. All right. So he says, until where should I do this? I mean, how far should I go? How far should I push this? So he says, until self-sacrifice. And basically, until they're willing to shoot you in the head, do it. I mean, don't get shot for it, but even if you have to put your life a little in danger, you have to do it, because this is saving Yiddish education, Jewish education. You have to go and take care of it. No. So he went. He goes to Petersburg. He goes next to the Minister of Education. There's a big building. And there's a guard there, and you need a pass to get in. Not only you needed a pass to get in there, even in those days, a Jew needed a pass to even be in Petersburg altogether. Even to be in the city of Petersburg, you needed a special visa, even if you were a Russian citizen, to be there. But of course, he just went there without a visa, and he's sitting in this park across from this Ministry of Education. He doesn't know what to do. How is he going to get in there and speak to the minister? He's saying Tillim on the bench. Some old guy walks by, sits next to him, and he asks him, so he gets into a conversation with him. They had a nice conversation of on whatever topics. And then the old guy said, what are you doing here? So he told him, he says, I have to meet the Minister of Education. There's something I got to talk to him about. So he says, I like you. The old man tells him, and I was the teacher of the Minister of Education, and I have a pass that I could go into this building, the Minister of Education, whenever I want. So do me a favor, I'll give you the pass, and just go in and just give it back to me. I'm going to risk my pass. Just take it. He wasn't a Jew, but a nice guy. He says, use it and give it back to me. So the previous Rebbe saw right away that Hashem is helping him here. He took the pass. He went into the front. The guards looked at a Jew with a beard. They didn't understand how he has the pass, but they didn't ask too many questions. They saw the pass. They let him in. Now he has to find the office of the minister. He doesn't want to ask too many questions, because if you ask questions, people might ask you questions back. So, but he had no choice. So he says, oh, by the way, where was the minister's office again? Was it over? Oh, yeah, it's on the second floor at the end. He said, oh, yeah, that's where it is. So he went up to the second floor. He went to the end. And as he's going towards the office, the Minister of Education walks out of his office. So he lets him pass him. And he looks and he sees the Minister of Education went downstairs and left. So he quickly ran into the office of the Minister of Education without permission, and he saw two piles. He saw one pile, there's a bunch of new decrees or rules that were approved, and he sees another pile not approved. So there was a pile of new decrees or laws that were on the table, and there was two stamps. One says approved, one not approved. And basically, the Minister of Education was going to look through this pile and either stamp it with the approved stamp or a stamp not approved. So he quickly went through the pile and he saw this decree against Jewish education sitting in the pile. The Minister of Education has not stamped it yet. And he took the non-approved, stamped non-approved on that decree, and he put it in the pile of the well, he stuck it under the pile of the non-approved laws. And he walked out like nothing happened. He gave the other guy back his pass and he went home. And he succeeded in getting rid of that decree. Of course, later on, the communists did many other decrees, but at least for that time, he got rid of that decree. So we spoke about shtus dekdusha, when you do something above nature, above thought, and you just go and do it. And if you go do it most times, Hashem is with you. And Hashem will you'll be at the right place at the right time. It will just work out for you. And leave the cheshbonis, leave the calculations to Hashem. If he would have sat down and said, wait a minute, I don't have a pass even to go to Petersburg. Even if I have a pass to go to Petersburg, I don't even have a pass to get into the minister. And even if I meet the minister, he'll probably say, Geh weg von da. He'll kick me out of his office. What's this Jew coming to tell me what to do? But he said, you know what? I'm going in the name of his father, who was the fifth Rebbe of Lubavitch. I'm going with in the name of saving Jewish education. I think most Jewish kids probably lived in the Russia then, or a lot of them did. And he left the calculations for Hashem, and he went out like a soldier, and he did what he had to do, and Hashem was with him, and he was able to cancel the decree. At least in life, not always does it work out, but at least we have to tell Hashem that we did our due diligence. We did whatever we had in our power to get the job done. At the end, it didn't happen. All right. So it didn't happen. But at least we did our part. Last week, a homeless Yid passed away in the Keys. And he told me, he used to tell me, I'm homeless. He lived in his car type of thing. But he used to come to shul always, whenever we had shalom, whatever it was, and I used to help him here and there if he needed a few dollars. Jeff Kaplan, a blessed member. So he didn't have much of a family. I was kind of, I guess, his next of kin, if you will. He had nobody. And he was in the old age home here, and then he passed away, and they didn't tell me that he passed away. So I get a call last Thursday, exactly a week ago. I'm also the chaplain of the sheriff department here. So they called me and they said, Rabbi, this Jewish guy passed away and he's at the medical examiners. They're going to cremate him. Do you know anybody, if he has any relatives or anything? And I always tell them, if any Jew pass away, you call me. I said, who is it? Jeff? I said, Jeff? Levi. So I said, wait. I'm his relative, I told him. I said, where is he now? He's at the medical examiner's office. Okay. I called the medical examiner's office in Marathon. It's an hour drive. I said, is Jeff there? Yeah, oh, Rabbi, yeah, Jeff is here. Well, no, he's actually not here. We sent him an hour ago to be cremated in Key Largo. I said, what? Give me the number. I called the cremation, but I said, no. I said, you have Jeff? He said, yeah, we have Jeff. We're going to cremate. I said, no, you're not cremating. He's a relative of mine. I'm the rabbi and the chaplain. And you're going to let me bury my Jewish relative. Oh, okay, Rabbi. Okay. It's good you caught us. We didn't do it yet. Just take him whenever you want. And so I called who I had to call. In this case, it was Yerucham Kopelman and Rabbi Lyons. Two good people in Miami, in the Miami Palm Beach area, and they helped me do a kosher burial on Jeff. But I could have had many excuses not to do it, right? He's not my real relative. He's already on the way to cremation. It's probably going to cost me some money that I have to fundraise, which I did. But they do it for very cheap. So Baruch Hashem, there wasn't. I was able to get whatever I needed quicker. But first of all, I said I'm going to do it. Right? I could have ignored it. Right? I said no, I have to do it. And once I said I had to do it, we were able to get it done. And the next day, on Friday, we had a kosher burial in Palm Beach. But again, all I'm saying is, I'm not the only rabbi that does these things. Most rabbis will do the same thing that I did. But they have to think in the way not thinking of, oh, how am I going to do this? You just go and do what you have to do, and the rest of the calculations you leave up to Hashem. And some of you remember my story from a year and a half ago with the Jacob kid with the mikveh, who even after they said he was cremated, we ended up that he wasn't cremated and we gave him a kosher burial. But so whoever was here a year and a half ago heard that story. Where even after they said he was cremated, we still were able to save him and give him a kosher burial. So again, it's important, first of all, this month to be happy. And since we're speaking about the temple, we'll end up with the thought, what does it have to do with us today? That every house should really be a temple. Since the temple is not rebuilt yet, it says, that Hashem will rest in each of one of you. That means in every one of your homes and your hearts. So every house should have a chumash, a Torah, right? You should have a pushka, a charity box to give to any Jewish charity that you would like. And Rabbi Smith is a good organization. I recommend his. And also you should have a siddur so you could pray to Hashem. So if you don't have any of those items, you should have that. That brings a bracha and makes your own house a temple. Besides having a mezuzah, you should have a chumash, a Bible, right, a Torah, a pushka, a charity box, and you should have a siddur, an Orthodox prayer book, a real prayer book in your house. It doesn't have to be Chabad, but it should be an Orthodox prayer book in your house. So, and that way you make your own house a Beis Hamikdash, a holy temple. And I wish you all a happy Adar, a happy Purim. And if I won't see you before Pesach, HaKosher Feilach Pesach.
Same to you, Rabbi.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thank
Rabbi.
you, everyone.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Rabbi, very much.
Very welcome.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Yanki, this was wonderful. Yasher Koyach, very inspirational. I love the stories and the Divrei Torah. Beautiful. And Yatz Hashem, I look forward to hearing more good stories in the future. Bez Hashem, hopefully we'll be merit to have you again.
It's my pleasure. Anytime, Rabbi Smith, keep up the good work.
Thank you.
All right, all the best. Kol tov.
Thank you.